Beloved community, good morning. Welcome to the Sunday service at Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation here in person in sunny Tucson and virtually over Zoom to all of our friends near and far who join us from the comfort of their homes. Whether you are here in person or here in cyberspace, we are glad you are here. We're glad you are joining us today. We offer a wide and warm welcome to those we've known for years, those we just met last week, and those we have yet to meet today. The Unitarian Universalist tradition has no specific creed and has no tests for membership other than a willingness to walk together in love and community as we work toward justice and inclusion for all, with respect for differences and encouraging joy in the journey. I am Monica Bauer, one of the pastoral associates here at MVUU. Our minister is the Reverend Matthew Funk Crary, and our music director over there on the piano is Chris Tackett. We want to thank all those who make these services possible, including our greeters who meet you on the way in, our hospitality folks who provide refreshments for fellowship time on the patio afterward, and our trusty communications team who run our sound and video. Lee and Todd McMealy, Alex Stuckey, Bob Seafried, and Roy Shimio. Seafried and Roy. We have Seafried and Roy today. Our young people are in the capable hands of our education director, Stacy Sosa. Our song leader is the ever-dependable Joel Yelland. We want to thank all the members of our choir who will be singing today. And last but not least, we thank our Zoom host. Today, it's Susan Alexander. Speaking of Zoom, at this point in our service, we'd like to give a special welcome to our virtual community out there. So if all of us here in our lovely sanctuary on West Orange Grove Road would wave to the folks at home, our camera operator will help us welcome all those who are with us virtually. Yay. This morning, we are continuing the joy-filled journey of stewardship, sometimes known as the dreaded pledge drive, season of giving, or congregational shakedown. It sometimes comes around tax season, which is another financial obligation that brings us nothing but joy. However, we have decided this year to make it fun. No, really we will. Today, we will hear from several members of our congregation as to why they decided to join our happy band of spiritual and humanistic seekers, which includes Unitarian Christians, secular Jews, Buddhists, pagans, atheists, agnostics, theists, and folks who are a little of each. And if I left you out, I'm sure you'll tell me on the patio afterward. We hope today's service will inspire you to give, whether that means giving money or time and talents, or a little of each. We begin each service by lighting our chalice, the universally recognized symbol of Unitarian Universalism. I've written a few words to ponder as Reverend Matthew lights our chalice today. Let there be light, but maybe not too much. We sometimes admit to ourselves, maybe best not to see some things. Shadows can be useful. Darkness can seem like a gift until it's necessary to see. There are so many reasons to resist the light until we get so sick of stumbling over the same old things that we're ready to make a change, to let ourselves be loved, to let ourselves feel joy. When we are ready, let there be light.
Our opening song is Gather the Spirit, number 347 by Jim Scott. And we wanted to announce that coming in April is Jim Scott to our congregation to give a concert. And we'll be giving you more and more information as we get closer in the coming weeks, but we're excited to host him, one of our UU troubadours. So please rise in body or in spirit and join your voices together. This is an enthusiastic song. Wow. I could go home right now and feel like that was it, right? Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Monica, for starting us off this morning. I'd like to invite you to a time of contemplation, of considering and pondering elevator speeches. 20 years ago this month, the Reverend Dr. William Sinkford, then president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, encouraged all of us Unitarian Universalists to create and practice an elevator speech about our faith tradition. Some of you might remember. We are having so much success making our faith more visible in the world, he wrote. More and more of us are getting asked the question, what's a Unitarian Universalist? And Reverend Sinkford adopted and adapted the elevator speech from the business world as one means for us to engage that poignant question. An elevator speech, if you don't know, is an opportunity during a brief elevator ride, 45 seconds to a minute, to make a succinct pitch impacting the listener. And Reverend Sinkford challenged us to go just a little bit further. Put a name to what calls you and to what you find yourself called to do in response. Practice telling it to others. Hone it. We have good news for the world that so badly needs it. And through his encouragement, over the last 20 years, there have been many, many, many elevator speeches practiced and delivered. Like these, by Jill McMullen from North Shore Unitarian Universalist Church in Deerfield, Illinois, Lelia Ibrahim from First Unitarian Church of Oakland, Bruce Mealville of South Unitarian Universalist in Brea, Ohio, and Ruth Bragg from First Parish in Bedford, Massachusetts. Unitarian Universalists search for the universal, person by person, path by path. Or, it's a blessing each of us was born. It matters what we do with our lives. What each of us knows about God is a piece of the truth. We don't have to do it alone. Or, Unitarian Universalism encourages each of us to understand and apply teachings from the world's religions to our daily lives, to seek truth, to promote justice, and to live in harmony with the world around us. Or, believing that reason is part of faith, that action is the result of prayer, inquiry, part of tradition, that the knowledge of the past is part of the promise of the future, that we gather together to gain strength in diversity and to worship the seen and the unseen and the generosity of the Spirit that we help into being. And we laugh a lot. Let's see if I can put them together in a minute. Ready? Go ahead. Unitarian Universalists search for the universal, person by person, path by path. It's a blessing each of us was born. It matters what we do with our lives. What each of us knows about God is a piece of the truth, and we don't have to go it alone. Unitarian Universalism encourages each of us to understand and apply the teachings of world religions to our daily lives, to seek truth, to promote justice, and to live in harmony with the world around us. Believing that reason is part of faith, action is the result of prayer, inquiry is part of our tradition, knowledge, part of the past, which gives part of the promise of our future. We gather together to gain gain strength in diversity, to worship the seen, the unseen, and the generosity of Spirit we help into being. And we laugh a lot. As you've heard, each speech is a distinct message expressing why each individual is a Unitarian Universalist. Personal experience, individual belief, it's essential to our faith. It's the starting point of this community. But among each individual's self-interest, you may have begun to hear a conversation of sorts, voicing a shared mutual interest. And that mutual interest, that's the gathering of the Spirit. That's the gathering of the Spirit of our faith. And far from capturing it, far from containing it, this conversation among elevator speeches, it sets it free, making it more visible, encouraging us to bring it alive and motivating and moving us all toward the liberation of our world. Let's try it again. The spirit of Unitarian Universalism is more than the sum of its parts. Always beginning with each and individual blessed heart, it moves our community to action. Each of us holds a facet of that spirit. And when it is shared, when it is listened to, when it is held and cherished, it shines and it multiplies. It multiplies our joy, our shared gratitude and hope, so that each feels the compassion and gathers the strength to engage the oppressions, the fear, the abuse, the violence, the destruction that we witness every single day of our lives. Through our listening to each other, we discover justice by our commitment to act. And we realize it not only for ourselves, but for all. And we laugh a lot. And think of that. The wisdom of your lived experience, it has meaning right here. And sharing your facet of the truth in brief yet shining examples of your heart's longing enriches us, expands and enlivens us, and it moves and motivates us to enrich our world together. And so I invite you to consider, if you would, what your elevator speech might be. Just for a minute, literally, just for a minute. In the silence that only music can bring, listen to your own voice within. Our next song is From All the Fret and Fever of the Day, number 90 in your gray hymnals, for those of you at home or who have them here. The words will be projected. Joel will lead us. I invite you to rise in body or spirit as you are able.
You've already heard this twice in the bossa nova rhythm.
In just a moment, members of our congregation will share their elevator speech with you. In addition to offering why they are here at MVUU, each is also participating in a commitment campaign, pledge drive. We have about 25 stewards, each who have agreed to meet with 4 or 5 of you here in our congregation through the next month. And instead of approaching their visit with you with the routine, you have money, we need money, give us your money. They're coming with an invitation to exchange elevator speeches, because they really do want to hear why you are at MVUU, and in turn, share why they are here as well. So I invite you to a time of meditation, of breathing and grounding in preparation for listening to 5 elevator speeches by the stewards of our congregation, and perhaps also in preparation for your visit with a steward sometime this month. Breathe in and out as your body allows, here in our sanctuary or at home. Breathe and feel your body. Feel the space around you. Feel the chair underneath you, the floor that you are resting on. Breathe and feel within your own quiet voice. Breathe and listen. Feel too the presence of this community, the place of connection that is created whether you are here in person or virtually present. Feel the many facets of life that each and every one brings here. Feel the experience and the wisdom, the joy and the pain, the hope and the grief, willingly welcomed and shared. Breathe and listen. And feel truth. Feel the meaning that we weave together, each offering their piece, their part, yet a truth more than the sum of it all. Breathe and listen. Listen and hear what is in our hearts. Listen and hear our hope for tomorrow. Listen and hear, clearly hear a truth that flows out of the past into this moment and into our future, within and among us all. Breathe. Rest. Listen. And hear the Spirit. May it be so, now and in all of our days to come.
I am Marie Nibel, and I've attended MVUU for 6 months. I've been a member for 6 weeks. Just realized that, thank you. I came through the encouragement of Elizabeth Van Horn, but I stayed, and I'm pleased to turn in my first pledge form because of what I found here in all of you. I was swept away by the welcoming kindness of the people here. I was greeted my first day. I was invited inside. I was introduced to people sitting around me as we waited for the service to start, and invited to join a conversation during coffee hour. The service was stimulating and thought-provoking, talking about the metaverse, a word I could barely pronounce. In other words, I was completely overwhelmed by what I had hoped for. I loved it all. I joined the choir, I baked brownies, I hike with the social hikers, and I enjoy Choya Chow time. I'm excited to turn in my first pledge to support MVUU in continuing to be a place that enthusiastically welcomes a wide variety of people in a caring, compassionate way. Hobie?
Hi, I'm Hobie Denny. I may be the oldest member in the fellowship. I'm not sure. I'm only 95. Anyhow, a lot of people I know call this the church of used-to-bes. Used to be Jewish, used to be Baptist, used to be whatever name you want to call it. When I was a teenager, I rejected the Christian method of path to happiness, not teachings of Christ, but Christians. I sort of call this group the smorgasbord or the cafeteria of a way to get your path, your spiritual path. I started going to MVUU and I found out about the 7 principles. And those principles I believe in and I try to fulfill them. I've gone down the path, the spiritual path, at Unitarian Judaism with a lot of wonderful people, really nice people. It's a great fellowship. My path, as I have developed it, is a path of self-love and acceptance. And once I got that path in my head, I was able to accept other people. So that's why I'm here.
Hi, my name's Lee. They, them pronouns. Why am I here at MVUU? When I first decided to explore MVUU, I was feeling that American society is hurting because we have an overemphasis on independence. I believe that what we need in order to begin to heal that hurt is a greater focus on interdependence. MVUU for me was a place to begin to focus on nurturing connection and weaving my own web. Somewhere I once read that faith is about believing something and letting that belief be real enough to change your life. I continue to give of my time, treasures, and talents because I want to let my belief in a better world be real enough to change all of our lives. I believe that only happens with time and active participation.
Hello, my name is Peter. I joined a UU congregation because of my 2 kids. When I came back from an overseas assignment, we were looking for a place for our 2 children. We found it in the Rockville UU in Maryland. Coming here, I continued my actual devotion to UU principles, and I carry the 7 principles in my wallet. And I always have extra copies for people I meet on airplanes or wherever. And so the key words here, each one of these 7 has really wonderful meaning for me. Acceptance, web of life, all these important words. The people here in this congregation mean a lot to me. The social justice and outreach work mean a lot to me. And being a Hungarian American like Zsombor, I relate also to my Unitarian roots in Transylvania. I visited Transylvania 3 times, led 2 groups, and took another person once, a 3rd time. I visited Jombor's grandfather's church without knowing Jombor, and now that I know him, to me that's just a powerful connection between our old Unitarian ancestors and us right here at MVUU.
Thank you for that, actually. Hi, I'm Erin Eichelberger, and I'm a lifelong UU. Church has always felt like a second home. I've always felt that it was a family, and I always felt comfortable at a UU church. I feel loved, accepted, and supported just for being me. Every town I've lived in, I've searched for a UU home. When I moved here to Tucson, I made MVUU my new UU home. I created a wonderful network of friends who helped me adjust to a new town. I've been away from MVUU for a while, and I've missed my spiritual family. I'm looking forward to reconnecting and creating new relationships now at MVUU. I'm happy to be back home where I've always been allowed and encouraged to be my best me. I'm glad we're on this elevator together. Have a great day.
Thank you for being our elevator today. A responsive reading by Lorelei Greenwood Jones, entitled Together in a Sacred Space. I'll read part of what's projected and invite you to follow in the larger italicized words. In this sacred space, we need not be alone. We seek a listening ear, a warm heart, open arms. In this sacred place, we join together against the waves of negativity and oppression in our world. We are a community of individual beings, living our own lives, and yet coming together now and then in joyous celebration of spirit with one another. Here, joys are shared and sorrows comforted. We are seen and heard and believed. When compassion overflows, our hearts reach for others. We are a gathering of like-hearted people, and here our hearts filled. We hear the wisdom and the counsel of our ministers and that of one another. We have much to learn from each other, so many different colors of truth and ways and methods. In this sacred space, may we find that what our spirits desire and what our spirits need. May we be grounded in love and sharing. In this sacred place, may we find acceptance and consideration. May our actions and words echo what we learn here. Thank you.
While the choir sets up for our anthem this morning, I just wanted to say again how grateful and happy and pleased I am that so many wonderful people choose to come and spend a chunk of their Wednesday evenings with me and come and share with us on Sunday morning. So once again, everybody, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me, and I think just about everybody else up here. And we still have some space. You can pitch it in. Wednesday evening, 6:30. This is the great old American folk hymn, Down to the River.
You might have noticed, but an elevator is not a particularly good place for evangelism. It's not, really. It's too confined a space, too brief a ride, too filled with music to adequately express our good news of Unitarian Universalism. I actually prefer to take the stairs. But it's not really the elevator that makes most Unitarian Universalists nervous about an elevator speech. It's the thought that we could be maybe evangelizing. Which, of course, is what Reverend Sinkford was asking us to do back in 2003. Put a name to what calls you and to what you find yourself called to do in response. He said, practice telling it to others, hone it. We have good news for a world that badly needs it. And that's our reality still. We have good news in the midst of so much terrible news. In the face of fascism, nationalism, authoritarianism, and this is not globally far away, this is in Arizona this week, with calls for individuals to turn in schools if you feel a little uncomfortable about the history and facts they're teaching. In response, we believe in equity and justice and compassion. In confronting racism and sexism and ageism, we stand with people. Each and all have worth and dignity. Defying the fear behind homophobia and transphobia, we offer love and transformational education based on science and fact. Together, we honor spiritual diversity here with many religious languages and with none. And yet, we have a single spirit among us. We are deeply and passionately concerned about the fret and fever that we encounter each and every day. And we are a people that Reverend Sinkford described as having a spiritual center and a civic circumference. A spiritual center and a civic circumference. A people with a community of spirit at its core, and a great civic periphery extending as far as our compassion goes, which is really far. There's a lot more space here between a spiritual center and a civic circumference than there is in any elevator. And this is spiritual, sacred space. There's space for relationship. There's time for us to rationally think through things and engage one another. And frankly, there is much better music than any elevator can offer. And we are called to bring our good news, our best, most fantastic, wonderful, celebrational news into that sacred space. We are called to offer the spirit of our faith community out into the civic circle in response to all of the terrible news. And over the last 20 years, as UUs have created and practiced and delivered thousands of elevator speeches, we've discovered that evangelizing is not proselytizing. Evangelizing is not proselytizing. Sharing our good news is not seeking to convert someone else. It's making sure that they know they have a choice. In fact, they have to make a choice. And here's what I mean. Last Friday was my writing day at my home office, which some of you may know is an 1965 Safari Airstream sitting in my front yard. Just before midday, I noticed a family who I didn't recognize from our neighborhood drive up and park there on the street. They got out of their minivan, and I could see they had religious pamphlets and tracts, and they started going door to door. And they walked away from my house, disappearing from my view and my attention, until I heard my partner, Stephanie, talking with someone out front. And I could only hear Stephanie's part of the interaction, but here is what I gathered. No, thank you. We're Unitarian Universalists. We're on a different path. And I hope you enjoy some sunshine today. What an elevator speech. In just an instant, she showed respect for other faiths. She named who we are. She presented an alternative to their proselytizing, their one faith, one life, one way. And then she offered them a blessing. At the very least, they must have recognized that there are other paths, which means there are choices about faith. And they certainly didn't hear all that Stephanie had to say, but I did. In her words and her approach, she further clarified the spirit of Unitarian Universalism for me by speaking and living out our good news. We are Unitarian Universalists, and we are on a different path. That's now part of my elevator speech. It's part of my vision of our faith. And as I've met with individuals and couples this week as a steward for our financial commitment campaign, I've heard and been inspired in exactly the same way. Each conversation has clarified for me who we are here at MVUU. It said very clearly what our spiritual center is and what our trajectory is out into that civic circle. And that's really all this month is about. It's about our listening to, it's about our hearing one another as stewards all of us of the spirit of this community. Yes, we steward with a financial commitment. It's an institutional necessity. But more than that, we are stewards together of the spirit of this faith. We share our elevator speeches and we name why we are here so that we can better perceive the spirit of MVUU, that we can make it alive. And even more, that through our collective clarity, we are moved and motivated to flow with it each and every day and to act from it with compassion and justice and liberation for all. And that is why we are here. May it be so today and all of our days to come.
There is absolutely no way that you can just sit there. Get on your feet, sing with us, please.
Here's the little musical doodles in between the stanzas.
Hi, wasn't that fun? Gosh, this choir just rocks, doesn't it? I have a few brief announcements to make before we close our service. We invite those of you here in person to fly away with us just as far as the patio for fellowship and refreshments, while we invite our virtual congregation to engage in an online discussion with Susan. You may have noticed that we have no place in our service for a traditional offertory to accept donations. Instead of passing a plate or passing the hat, we decided that we don't want to pass anything, especially germs. So instead, on your way out of the sanctuary towards the patio, you will find a small table with a wooden bowl for donations to the work of this congregation. And on the same little table, you'll see a woven basket for donations to a charity of the month. This month's woven basket donations go to the Primavera Foundation. The Primavera Foundation provides pathways out of poverty through safe, affordable housing, workforce development, and neighborhood revitalization. I also want to announce we have a planned giving workshop coming up on Sunday, March 26th, here at MVUU. We will be hosting Laura Marr from the Community Foundation of Southern Arizona to lead a workshop on planned estate giving for those of you who think that at some point you might fly away. This is a hybrid workshop open to all here in person and online. More details will be coming in our Friday newsletter, and please do take a look at our newsletter. There are many more things there than I can announce. We now have a brief announcement on screen from our Religious Education Director, Stacy Sosa.
Good morning. I'm Stacy, your coordinator of Religious Exploration. And as you know, every Sunday we offer religious exploration for our youngest. It's a joyful service to our families and our community. But we're growing, and we're looking for a few more adults who would love to join us. What I find most joyful is watching the children's faces light up when they enter the room, or the look of pride that they get when they discover something new. This work is spiritually fulfilling by helping our youngest grow in our faith, and is an amazing service by giving back to MVUU just one Sunday a month. Don't worry, we'll make it easy for you. We'll run the background check, we'll do all the scheduling, and share with you the lessons for the day. That's it. If you're interested, come see me during fellowship hour out on our patio, after you've grabbed a cookie and coffee, of course. Or you can email me at stacy.sosa@mvuu.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy. And now it is time for us to release the flame of our chalice. And now, as Reverend Matthew extinguishes our chalice, may the warmth of our shared values and the light of love remain with us to brighten our days until we meet again. Blessed be.
And yeah, all the talk of elevator music and elevator stuff and the history of the bossa nova and high rises and why we have elevator music and all of that is a whole fascinating topic that we may get to some other Sunday. But the whole rise of music and all of that is great fun. But all that aside, I invite you now, stand if you wish, and join me in a little gentle sway. This is a bossa nova, possibly one of the prototypical bossa novas from Antonio Carlos Jobim, or Tom to his friends. Desafinado. It's not complicated, there's no fancy steps, it's mostly just swaying. Join me.